The signal arrived without ceremony. At first, it was dismissed as interference, a flicker buried in the noise beyond Pluto's orbit. Deep Space Relay 12 had seen stranger anomalies before. Solar echoes, rogue bursts, dead transmissions from long-forgotten probes. But this one lingered. It repeated. Dr. Lianzhou leaned closer to the display, her brow tightening. Run it again. The waveform reappeared, identical down to the smallest variation. Too precise. Too deliberate. Natural sources don't loop like that, one of the technicians muttered. Zhou didn't answer. She was already tagging the anomaly for priority escalation. Commander Elias Rourke was halfway through a stale cup of coffee when the alert reached him. He skimmed the report once, then again more slowly. By the third pass, he was already standing. Patch me through to Relay 12. Moments later, Zhou's face appeared on the screen, lit by the cold glow of her station. You're seeing it? She asked. I am, Rourke replied. Tell me it's a glitch. I can't. She hesitated, then added, It's structured. Rourke set the cup aside. Structured how? Zhou gestured to the data stream. Prime numbers. Then geometric ratios. It's building a foundation, mathematics first. Like it's teaching us how to read it. Rourke exhaled slowly. Or making sure we can't misunderstand. Within hours, the signal had reached every major command center on Earth. Screens filled with shifting patterns, numbers resolving into symbols, symbols into something disturbingly close to language. Teams worked in parallel, feeding translations through linguistic AIs and human oversight. The process was fast. Too fast. As if the message had been designed to be understood. Rourke stood in the Orbital Defense Command Hub, surrounded by a low hum of voices and machines. No one spoke loudly. No one joked. The weight of it pressed down on the room. Commander, Zhou's voice came through again. We've got a full translation. Put it up. The central display shifted. Lines of alien script dissolved into clean, unmistakable text. Species, human. Status, observed. Assessment, high-risk expansion potential. Judgment, preemptive containment authorized. Silence followed. Not confusion. Not panic. Recognition. Rourke folded his arms. No greeting, he said quietly. No attempt at contact. Zhou's voice wavered. It's not a first contact message. No, Rourke agreed. It's a verdict. The world reacted exactly as expected, and not at all as needed. Emergency sessions convened across every major government. Some leaders called for immediate diplomatic outreach. Others demanded full military readiness. Old rivalries resurfaced in tense, clipped exchanges. Rourke listened to one such meeting from the edge of the room, his expression unreadable. They've made a judgment without speaking to us, one official argued. That's not how civilizations operate. Another shook his head. You're assuming they think like we do. Rourke stepped forward. They don't? The room turned toward him. You don't issue containment orders unless you've already decided the outcome. He continued. Whatever they are, they've run the numbers. And in every scenario, we're the problem. A pause. Then we prove them wrong. Someone said. Rourke met their gaze. They're not here to be convinced. The first visual confirmation came 12 hours later. A cluster of objects appeared at the edge of the solar system, too large, too ordered to be debris. Telescopes locked on. Images sharpened. Ships. Not one. Not dozens. Hundreds. They moved in perfect formation, gliding forward without visible propulsion. No heat signatures. No emissions. Just motion, silent, controlled, inevitable. Rourke studied the feed, jaw tightening. They're not scouting. Zhou's voice returned, softer now. They're advancing. Humanity answered. A transmission was sent, broad spectrum, encoded in every known mathematical and linguistic framework. We acknowledge your message, it said. We request dialogue. The signal traveled outward, racing toward the approaching fleet. For several long minutes, there was nothing. Then a reply. Short. Immediate. Request denied. Rourke closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, the fleet had already crossed the orbit of Neptune. They didn't even pause, Joe whispered. No, Rourke said. They were never going to. By the time the alien ships reached the moon, Earth was no longer debating. Orbital defense platforms powered up. Fleets mobilized from every nation, converging in low Earth orbit. Weapons systems cycled online. Targeting arrays tracked the incoming formation. The tension was unbearable, every second stretched thin, waiting for something to break. It did. Without warning, one of the alien vessels shifted position. No charge up. No signal. A beam, thin, almost delicate, lanced across the void. Orbital platform Aegis 1 vanished. Not damaged. Not crippled. Gone. Where it had stood moments before, there was only a scattering of molten debris drifting into the dark. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Rourke stared at the empty space, his reflection faint in the glass. Then he straightened. Confirm loss, he said. A trembling voice answered. Aegis 1 destroyed. No survivors. Rourke nodded once, slow and deliberate. Around him, the room erupted into motion, orders, alarms, systems lighting up in cascading urgency. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. They've made their move, he said. Outside, the alien fleet advanced in perfect silence. Rourke's gaze hardened. They're not here to talk. The silence after Aegis 1's destruction lasted less than a second. Then the alarms came alive. Multiple targets acquiring. Energy spikes across the fleet. Command we're reading. Rourke raised a hand. The room steadied around him. Track everything, he said. No assumptions. I want patterns. Outside, the alien formation shifted with surgical precision. Lines tightened, angles adjusted, each vessel moving as if part of a single organism. Then the second strike came. Another beam, impossibly fast, cut through orbit. A defense frigate split cleanly in half, its sections drifting apart before erupting into flame. Return fire! Someone shouted. Human ships responded instantly. Railguns thundered. Missiles streaked outward in coordinated volleys. Laser arrays lit the darkness with frantic brilliance. For a moment it looked like resistance. Then the alien fleet adapted. Incoming projectiles veered off course, intercepted mid-flight, or rendered harmless by sudden distortions in space. Railgun slugs that should have struck true passed through empty air where targets had been milliseconds before. They're predicting trajectories, Joe said over comms. Every shot, every movement, they're anticipating it. Rourke's eyes tracked the battle. Not just anticipating. Optimizing against it. A cluster of human fighters broke formation, attempting a flanking maneuver. Before they reached position, 3 alien ships rotated in unison. Beams fired. The fighters disappeared. Loss confirmed. A pilot reported, voice strained. They knew where we'd be before we got there. Rourke leaned forward slightly. Because we're flying clean lines. Predictable vectors. Commander, another officer said. We trained for adaptive engagement. Against something that thinks like us. Rourke cut in. They don't? The battle escalated in minutes. Orbital platforms fired continuously, cycling through targeting solutions faster than human crews could process. It made no difference. Alien vessels absorbed, deflected, or simply avoided the attacks with impossible efficiency. Platform Helios is down. Carrier Group Delta has lost propulsion. We're losing the upper ring. Rourke watched the casualty reports scroll across the display. Numbers climbed too quickly to follow. Outside, debris began to accumulate, shattered hulls, drifting fragments, glowing remnants of ships that had existed seconds earlier. Pull back the outer fleet, he ordered. A stunned pause. Sir? They're feeding into the same engagement patterns, Rourke said. Every ship we send straight at them dies the same way. And if we retreat? Rourke didn't hesitate. We lose slower. The first impacts reached Earth minutes later. Not indiscriminate. Not random. Precise. Power grids failed across major cities. Satellite networks blinked out. Communications fractured into isolated pockets. Infrastructure collapsed in targeted strikes that left surrounding areas untouched. They're dismantling us, Cho said. System by system. Not dismantling, Rourke replied. Disabling resistance. A new feed appeared, ground-level footage. Crowds flooding streets. Emergency lights flashing against darkened skylines. Military convoys scrambling without coordination. For a moment, Rourke said nothing. Then, get me updated ground reports. I want to know what still functions. Back in orbit, the remaining human fleet regrouped. Admiral Hayes' voice cut through the channel. Commander, we've reorganized for a concentrated strike. All remaining units, one push. If we break their line. You won't, Rourke said. A beat. We have to try. Rourke considered it, then nodded once. Do it. The counterattack began with everything humanity had left in orbit. Ships surged forward in a unified formation. Weapons fired in synchronized waves. For the first time, the battlefield aligned, timed, coordinated, precise. For 6 seconds it worked. An alien vessel took a direct hit. Its surface flared, structural integrity wavering. Then the formation adjusted. Human ships began to fall. Not randomly. Systematically. Lead vessels first. Then support. Then anything attempting deviation. They're unraveling us, Hayes said, disbelief creeping into his voice. They're pulling the formation apart. Another ship vanished. They're using our coordination against us, Joe added. Predicting the chain reaction. Rourke watched the pattern unfold. Every move had a counter before it finished. They don't react, he said quietly. They preempt. Minutes later, the attack collapsed. What remained of the fleet retreated in scattered fragments, no longer a unified force but a collection of survivors. Hayes' channel went silent. Rourke stared at the tactical display. Red markers outnumbered blue 10-1. No, worse. Blue markers were disappearing. The room had gone quiet again. Not from shock this time. From understanding. They're not just stronger, Cho said. They're ahead. Every step. Rourke didn't respond immediately. His gaze shifted across the battle logs, replaying sequences, isolating movements. Something nagged at him. A discrepancy. Run this engagement again, he said, pointing to a section of the feed. The data replayed. Human ships followed optimal paths, clean arcs, efficient vectors. Alien responses aligned perfectly. Rourke's expression changed. Pause. The frame froze. Zoom here. A fighter squadron broke formation, momentarily disorganized during evasive maneuvers. Alien targeting lagged. Just slightly. Not much. But enough. Rourke leaned back. They hesitate when we stop making sense. Cho frowned. That's not a strategy. That's chaos. Exactly. He stood. We've been trying to fight them properly, he said. Predictable, efficient, clean. He shook his head. And they've already solved that version of us. Cho's voice lowered. So what do we do? Rourke looked back at the burning fragments drifting across orbit. His answer came without hesitation. We stop being solvable. He turned toward the command floor. Pull every surviving unit out of standard formation. No more symmetry. No more clean engagement lines. Commander, someone began, uncertain. Rourke's voice hardened. We stop fighting like we're trying to win. A pause. Then, quieter. We start fighting like we refuse to lose. The change began quietly. No grand announcement. No unified signal across the fleet. Just a shift in behavior, subtle at first, then unmistakable. Human ships stopped moving like a single organism. They scattered. Break formation, Rourke ordered. Admiral Hayes hesitated on the other end. Commander, we'll lose coordination. That's the point, Rourke replied. Around Earth, surviving vessels peeled away from structured patterns. Fighters drifted off course. Frigates altered speed without warning. Some powered down entirely, vanishing into the growing debris fields left behind by the battle. From a distance, it looked like collapse. Up close, it was something else. Telemetry's all over the place, Cho said. We're losing predictive tracking on our own units. Rourke watched the display. Blue markers flickered, shifting erratically. No symmetry. No logic. Good, he said. You're sure about this? No, Rourke answered. But they are. The first test came near a drifting field of wreckage, fragments of ships, shattered platforms, twisted metal still glowing faintly. A small alien detachment moved through it, scanning, precise as ever. 3 human fighters approached. Not in formation. Not even together. One drifted slowly, engines barely active. Another accelerated, then cut thrust mid-vector. The third spun slightly off-axis, its trajectory uneven. They looked damaged. A pilot muttered over comms. Act like it, Rourke said. The alien ships adjusted position, tracking the incoming targets. Their alignment shifted, calculations running, solutions forming. Then the fighters did something no algorithm could predict. They broke in 3 completely different directions at once. No pattern. No shared intent. For a fraction of a second, the alien formation stalled. Now, Rourke said. Hidden among the debris, 2 dormant human gunships powered up. Railguns fired at close range. One alien vessel took the hit directly. Its surface rippled, then ruptured. Impact confirmed, a pilot shouted. The second alien ship attempted to reposition, but too late. A missile, launched blindly through the debris moments earlier, collided with its flank. It didn't explode. It fractured. For the first time since the invasion began, an alien craft broke apart under human fire. Silence followed. Then a voice, almost disbelieving. We got one. The news spread faster than any official report. Across fragmented networks and surviving broadcasts, the message echoed, alien ships could be destroyed. Hope didn't return all at once. But it stirred. In the command hub, Zhou replayed the engagement repeatedly. Their response lagged, she said. Not much, but enough. They couldn't resolve the movement, Rourke replied. Too many variables. They'll adapt. Eventually, he said. But not instantly. Rourke turned back to the display. We don't need to outmatch them. We just need to stay ahead of their expectations. The next engagements followed the same principle. Human ships abandoned efficiency. Pilots ignored optimal routes. Some flew manually, overriding AI assistance entirely. Others used outdated systems, slower, less precise, but harder to predict. Ambushes replaced direct assaults. Debris fields became cover. Abandoned satellites turned into weapons. Even communication shifted, fragmented, delayed, inconsistent. To an outside observer, it looked like disorganization. To the alien fleet, it was something worse. It was noise. Far beyond Earth, aboard the command vessel, High Executive Thalven observed in silence. The data streams updated continuously, projections recalculating with each new encounter. None aligned. A subordinate stepped forward. Human resistance patterns are deviating from established models. Thalven did not turn. Clarify. They are no longer optimizing for survival or victory. Their movements lack efficiency. Thalven considered this. And the result? A pause. They are achieving localized successes. That was new. Thalven's gaze shifted to the tactical display. Several human engagements had resulted in losses, on both sides. But the projections had not predicted any alien losses. Not at this stage. They are introducing error into the system, the subordinate added. Thalven's voice remained calm. Error implies randomness. Yes. Thalvan watched as another human unit executed an irregular maneuver, forcing an alien vessel into a delayed response. No, Thalvan said. Not randomness. The subordinate hesitated. Then what? A long pause. Choice. Back near Earth, the cost of adaptation became clear. A damaged cruiser limped through orbit, its hull torn open. Inside, crew members worked in silence, sealing compartments, stabilizing systems. We lost 3 on that run, a voice said over comms. Still better than losing the whole ship, another replied. There was no celebration. No relief. Only endurance. Rourke stood at the center of it all, watching the shifting tide. We've changed the game, Cho said. But it's not enough to win. Rourke nodded. No. It isn't. He studied the alien formations. They were adjusting, slightly. Slower than before, but learning. They'll catch up, Cho said. They always do, Rourke replied. A silence settled between them. So what's next? She asked. Rourke didn't answer immediately. His eyes fixed on a single point within the enemy formation, a larger vessel, central, protected. Every system has a center, he said finally. Zhou followed his gaze. You're thinking command structure. I'm thinking control, Rourke said. You want to hit that? Her voice sharpened. That's not an ambush. That's suicide. Rourke's expression didn't change. Not if it works. Zhou shook her head. We'd have to commit everything we have left. Yes. And if we fail? Rourke looked back at the fractured remains of Earth's defenses, at the slow collapse still unfolding. We don't get another chance. He turned toward the command floor. Start planning, he said. Zhou exhaled, tension evident. This is a gamble. Rourke paused. Then, quietly. No. It's the only move they won't expect. Outside, the scattered human fleet continued its erratic dance, unpredictable, inefficient, alive. For the first time, the invaders were no longer certain of the outcome. And that uncertainty was enough to begin changing the war. The plan spread in fragments. No central broadcast. No formal declaration. Each unit received only what it needed: coordinates, timing windows, partial objectives. Nothing complete. Nothing predictable. Even now, they refused to become something the enemy could solve. Rourke stood in the command hub, eyes fixed on the flagship's position. It sat at the core of the alien formation, shielded by layers of escort vessels. Untouched. Untested. Status, he said. Zhou's voice came through, steady but tight. All units in motion. Civilian sectors fully evacuated from projected engagement zones. What's left of the fleet is in place. Rourke nodded once. No second chances. There never were, she replied. The battle began without a clear starting point. Human ships emerged from every direction, some from behind debris, others from dark orbital shadows, a few drifting silently before igniting engines at the last moment. There was no unified charge, no clean advance. Just movement. Alien vessels responded instantly, shifting to intercept. Their formations adjusted, tightening around the flagship. Defensive patterns activated, precise as ever. But something was different. Human ships didn't converge. They crossed paths. Collided trajectories. Broke off mid-attack. Some fired prematurely, others delayed. A few did nothing at all, drifting through the chaos like lost wreckage. They're struggling to isolate intent, Zhou said. Their models are fragmenting. Rourke watched the tactical feed. Keep them guessing. A wave of human drones surged forward, erratic in speed and direction. Alien defenses engaged, beams slicing through them with lethal accuracy. Then the second wave hit, manned ships hidden behind the drone's debris. Close range. Too close. Railguns fired. Missiles launched without guidance locks. One alien escort ship took a direct strike, its surface cracking under sustained impact. Another twisted sharply, avoiding collision, only to drift into a cloud of metallic fragments. Explosions rippled across its hull. "They're reacting late," a pilot reported, breathless. "We're inside their timing window." "Stay there," Rourke said. Losses came fast. A human cruiser vanished under concentrated fire. A squadron of fighters disappeared in a single sweep of energy beams. Signals cut out mid-sentence, leaving silence where voices had been seconds before. No one slowed. There was no room for hesitation. "Pathway opening," Joe said. "Not stable, but it's there." Rourke leaned forward. A narrow gap had formed near the flagship, unintentional, the result of overlapping alien adjustments. It wouldn't last. "Send them," he said. 3 ships broke from the chaos. Not the largest. Not the strongest. The ones that could move fastest. They accelerated hard, engines flaring as they cut through the fractured battlefield. Alien vessels reacted, shifting to intercept, but too many variables pulled them apart. One human ship was caught mid-run, disintegrating instantly. The other 2 pushed forward. "Distance closing," a pilot said. "We're not going to make it clean." "You don't need clean," Rourke replied. "You need close." The flagship loomed ahead, vast, silent, untouched by the destruction around it. The remaining ships didn't slow. At the last moment, both veered sharply. One drew fire, pulling defensive systems away. The other slipped through the gap and slammed into the flagship's outer structure. Impact. Not enough to destroy. Enough to breach. Inside, the environment shifted, alien architecture, unfamiliar geometry, surfaces that seemed to move under changing light. The boarding team didn't pause. "Move," their leader said. Weapons fired in tight corridors. Alien defenders responded with precision, but close quarters stripped away their advantage. No long-range prediction. No space to calculate. Only reaction. Only instinct. And humans were very good at that. Rourke watched the feed from orbit, every second stretched thin. "Signal's unstable," Joe said. "They're inside, but we're losing visual." "Keep it alive," Rourke said. A burst of static. Then audio. "Core structure ahead, resistance heavy." Gunfire. A sharp cry. Then silence. Rourke didn't move. "Another channel," Joe said quickly. A new voice broke through, strained. "Charges in place. We're not getting out." Rourke closed his eyes for a brief moment. "Understood," he said. "You've done enough." A pause. Then, quietly, "For Earth." The signal cut. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the flagship reacted. Its surface flickered, energy patterns destabilizing. Surrounding ships shifted abruptly, formation breaking as systems recalibrated. A ripple spread through the structure. Then light, blinding, expanding outward. The flagship didn't explode. It failed. Sections collapsed inward. Energy cascaded across its surface, uncontrolled. The core fractured, tearing through layers of structure until the entire vessel began to come apart. Across the battlefield, alien ships hesitated. Not a delay. A break. For the first time, their movements lost cohesion. Then, slowly, they began to withdraw. "They're pulling back," Joe said, disbelief creeping into her voice. Rourke stared at the retreating fleet. "They've lost control. Or something worse." Certainty. Hours later, orbit fell quiet. What remained of Earth's defenses drifted among the wreckage. Fires burned low. Signals returned in fragments. The planet below was scarred, but intact. Alive. Rourke stood alone, looking out over the curve of Earth. Smoke traced thin lines across continents. Darkness covered cities that once blazed with light. Behind him, footsteps approached. Joe stopped beside him. "We held." Rourke didn't respond immediately. "They'll come back," she said. "Maybe," he answered. "And if they do?" Rourke watched the distant stars, where the fleet had vanished. "They'll come prepared," Joe added. A faint breath escaped him. They already were. Silence settled between them. Then Joe asked, So what changes? Rourke's gaze remained fixed on the horizon. We do. He turned slightly, voice steady. They saw what we are when we fight to survive. A pause. Next time, they'll have to face what we become when we decide to win.